Доброго дня
Добрий день.
всім присутнім.
Добрий день. Добрий день.
Добрий день.
Доброго дня.
Добрий день.
Доброго дня.
Доброго дня. Всім вітаю.
Доброго дня.
Вітаю всіх учасників.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Відповідно на годиннику 15:00 по Україні, 14:00 в Польщі, ми розпочинаємо наш сьогоднішній захід в рамках науково-педагогічного стажування від імені Центру українсько-європейського співробітництва, який є співорганізатором цього проєкту. Дозвольте сьогодні виступити модератором і, відповідно, представити наших шановних давніх друзів з Польщі. Центр українсько-європейського співробітництва співпрацює з Куявським університетом вже на протязі 3 років. Ми проводимо численну кількість різноманітних заходів для наукової спільноти України. Щиро дякую всім вам, що ви зацікавлені в цих заходах і приймаєте участь. Нас це безумовно тішить і радує, і ми далі будемо активно співпрацювати. І нарешті чекаємо, коли відкриються кордони, щоб вже безпосередньо поїхати і поспілкуватися особисто з нашими польськими колегами. Відповідно, у нас сьогоднішній формат передбачає виступ 2 співробітників Куявського університету. Дозвольте, будь ласка, їх представити. Це доктор Marcin Miziołek, провідний коуч, професор Куявського університету, Республіка Польща, а також наша давня колега Joanna Skiba, провідний експерт у галузі освіти дорослих та електронного навчання. Вона очолює міжнародний відділ у Куявському університеті. Ви попередньо отримували інформацію, коротку характеристику лекцій, які вони сьогодні планують вам представити. Марцин буде першим виступати і спілкуватися буде про стрес-менеджмент. Після нього пані Джоанна висвітлить дуже цікаву проблему – творче навчання в умовах пандемії. З вашого дозволу, я надаю слово доктору Марцину. Marcin, please speak.
Good afternoon. Just please let me know if you can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon to everybody. So happy to be here today with you. First of all, I want to add just one information that I'm also a psycho-oncologist. Now I'm actually in my office in the hospital as well. So once a week I work as a psycho-oncologist. And this is why I want to start that this is a place where I can see a lot of stress. Today we are going to talk about stress. So you can imagine that that when I face patients, that when I see people who come here, they are in big stress. Yes, so this is something I also work with, and this is what I want to, I would say, let's say, discuss with you. It will be more of a monologue, but I will ask you questions to answer for yourselves, because when I work with people, I always tell them that they are the most important. So if I ask you, it will be like a lecture, but with questions, and I would like to you to answer these questions as well. Who is the most important for you in your life? This is the first question. Of course, you don't have to answer it aloud or in writing, but just think, who is the most important person for you in your life? I hope that you have some answers. So if you answered, I am the most important person for me, then it's perfect. It's just perfect. If you answered, I am the most important person, then it's great. If you haven't, so, you know, people where I work with, then they usually answer my children, sometimes, you know, my parents, maybe, my spouse, my wife, my husband. I would like to tell you that you are the most important people in your life, or you should be the most important person in your life, because everything starts with you. If we move to second position and we put somebody in the first position, then let's say we give more than we get, and let's say we lose sometimes our fuel, and we sometimes forget about ourselves. And during, you know, especially during COVID times, during pandemic times, it is important to remember that we are the most important, that we are the key, because if we feel well and if we look after ourselves, then it's easier to look after other people. I don't mean that you should be like egoistic from psychological point of view, being egoistic, saying, I'm the most important. Yes, it's like, I'm the most important, my children are the most important, my family, you know, family members, they are the most, so everybody is the most important. Just don't put yourself in the second position or third position, because it also can cause some emotional stress. And this is actually the thing that we are going to discuss today. So another question is, from 0 to 10, on a scale from 0 to 10, how stressed are you? Of course, answer this to yourself. It's just grab the first number that appears. This is like, you know, mind is tricky. So we sometimes get something like, maybe, I don't know, like 5 or 6. Okay, so 5 is the answer. 6 is the mind trying to cheat you. 5 is the first answer. So the first thing that came to you, I mentioned 5. I don't know, maybe how stressed are you? I'm not stressed. It's perfect. If you're not stressed, then it's perfect. Maybe somebody is like in 7 or 8. It's just your answer. Everybody has got his or her own answer. This is key. Nobody is to tell you how stressed you are or how good you're feeling. It's only how you feel that matters. Yes. So 7, 6, or, you know, I see some numbers. So 5, 8, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7. This is interesting. Yes. 4. Okay. So we've got nobody who texted 0. Okay, so it depends on the situation. Of course, it depends on the situation, but I mean like now. Yes, like now, sitting now. Of course, if we are in a situation that can cause a lot of stress, we are under pressure, maybe public speaking for somebody can cause some stress, and then it can raise the level. Okay, it's different. But I'm trying to point out this, like this very moment. You are safe. Nothing, you know, is happening to you. You are sitting, listening to me. So 6, 7, okay, these are the numbers. So it shows us that actually feeling stress is something that we can meet almost every day, and this is what we do. We have stress. So the next thing, before explaining what, you know, stress is and what triggers it, the next question is, Also on a scale from 0 to 10, the first thought would be, or will be the most important, how good I feel about myself. On a scale from 0 to 10, yeah? Like how good I feel about myself. And this is also an interesting question, which can be easy, difficult to answer. Yeah, how good I feel about myself, how good I feel with myself or being with myself. Okay, Irina, 9. Nice. We have, it's a good option to, okay, we've got Natalia with 10, but we also have, of course, 8 or 7s. So this is also important, how we feel about ourselves. It's good to check when we, for example, sit alone. Yes, and there is nothing, you know, it's calm place. I have nothing to do. I have time to relax. And then it's good to check if I actually do relax or I have, you know, continuous thoughts, you know, discussing, talking, whether I did it right, whether I did it wrong, maybe I should improve something or whatever. Maybe I feel guilty because of something, maybe I should have done it better. So if you have something like this, it's distraction. A distraction that will probably cause you to lower the feeling that we have, because Natalia, almost 10, but not for a long time. This is what we can see. So it also varies. It also changes. Yes. So we can feel good. At the same time, we can feel stressed. So stressed is something that influences us. So what are the triggers that cause stress? You know, I would say it is deeply connected with emotions. It is deeply connected with emotions and with our self-awareness, self-consciousness. And when we develop, you know, our mind develops, then we treat some situations differently. Even it comes with experience. We can say that, yes, if we have more lifetime experience, then we actually treat some situations differently. Maybe they don't trigger us that much, or maybe actually they do trigger us more. It is important to check how often are you angry? Because anger is actually this emotion which is actually the fastest, and it's always available. You know, you can just anger, yes? So if you answered once a week, because probably this is how you answered, you aren't angry more often. If you answered once a week, then okay, yes. If you answered 7 times a day, probably we would have to work on anger management and what to do to make it lower. Okay, quite often because of surrounding. 8. This is also something I would like to take now. From some perspective, we say that somebody, just focus on this one, that somebody has made us angry. Yeah, this is something that we can say. That, for example, I don't know if let's use a Polish name, Beata. I don't think we have any Beatas there. So Beata has made me angry. Yeah, for example. But from psychological point of view, it isn't Beata who made me angry, but it's actually me, myself, who made me angry with Beata's behavior. So it's like totally a different action. It's not like she made me angry, but I made myself angry with Beata. Somebody, for example, has a problem with a car and says, my car made me angry. It's not true, because the car wasn't just, parked on the side of the road saying, okay, I will make my owner angry. Because, a car can make such a decision, yes? So we made ourselves angry with the car or whatever. So it means that all comes from within. This is actually what I want to emphasize today. This is why I started with, don't put yourself in the second position. Be most important for you, because you are the most important person for yourself. And then if everything here is organized, I don't want to use the word organized because it's not about organizing, but it's more about allowing yourself being you. And then if it's like this, then even the car won't make you angry, because the car doesn't have the skills to make anybody angry, or my dog made me angry. No, it's not like that. It's always that anger is from within. And when we are angry, then levels of stress rise. Yes, they go up. So stress is higher, bigger, pressure is higher, pressure is bigger, and then we cannot cope with the situation that actually, to some extent, we created. Yes, so we create also what happens, or actually how we react to some stimuli which are in our surroundings. Yes, so this is the first case, anger. Of course, you should allow yourself to be angry, but it's like, if you are angry, if you are stressed, then you share this anger and you share this stress with somebody else. Because this is natural, this is human, that we want to share our problems or our emotions with other people, okay? And if you have anger and you want to give it to somebody, then this person gets anger from you. This is normal. Imagine such a thing. If somebody comes to you and wants to give you a present, somebody comes to you and wants to give you a present, but you don't want this present, whose present is it then? If somebody comes to you and says, I have a present for you, and you don't want it, so whose present is it then? Of course, you should have answered. Of course, there are many options, but you should have answered, it's gonna be this person's present, because I'm not taking that. Some people may say, I've been working with many people, so some people say, okay, it's still mine because, I don't want it, but it's rude not to take a present, and I would take it. Okay. It's the same with emotions. It's the same with emotions. When somebody comes to you with anger, and he or she wants to give you the anger, and if you don't want it, just don't take it. Then he stays with this anger, and you don't. It's like with an unwanted gifts. Of course, it's not as simple as I'm saying like that, but through the process and self-awareness and improving your, let's say, self-being or being, wellness, then it improves, and you know that you don't want it, you're not taking it. It's with, of course, it's with anger. It can be with guilt. Somebody can come and say, you're guilty. You know that you aren't, but you are taking the gift and you start to feel guilty. And when you feel guilty, then you start to feel stressed. Yes, and the stress, you go with the stress to, stress can be from home, and you go with this stress to work. And as somebody has already written, yes, the amount of work will also increase the level of our stress. So you go with the stress from home, which somebody has given you, you go to work, you have a lot of stress from work, the number of work, the number of duties. And then again, we have the problem that it's too much stress. We can have some deadlines, we can have some issues to be done, and then the level goes up. That's why when we started and I asked you about stress, some people said 8, 7, 5. Trust me that 5 is high, okay? We can of course talk about positive stress, because scientists also say about positive stress, which is something that motivates us to do something. But the positive stress I want to mention is the stress when we feel fear, for example, I don't know, being in a forest and there's a wolf or whatever, and this is pure biology. This is stress which causes adrenaline appearing in our body, making us save our lives. So this is positive stress. Levels of cortisol go up and then they go down. But if we are under constant stress, then the level of cortisol is high, and it can cause some health problems. This is what we should look at, because our health is the most important, because actually we are the most important. Sorry for mentioning me in the group, you are the most important. So just remember about that. If we are in a stressful situation and then somebody gives us tools to deal with this stress, instead of looking why I'm stressed, but taking maybe more tasks on ourselves to do something, then we can be even more stressed because we have more and more and more to do. It's not about that. It shouldn't be about that. Yes, it should be about dismantling this, like peeling an onion. Yeah, you go down to what is the cause of the stressful situation and why I feel like this, what causes this stress in me. Of course, the final answer will be, I cause the stress in me somehow taking information from the outside. The car can't cause stress. I can cause stress looking at the car or thinking about the problem with the car, thinking about some problems at work. So thinking about future or analyzing past can cause stress. The feeling, the emotion, we mentioned anger, okay, but one important emotion here is fear. Fear causes stress. We are afraid of what's going to happen, and we start to write the future in our mind. We are safe sitting here, but we are already thinking about bad options that can happen in, what the future will bring. So this is like writing scenarios in your head. We are not fortune tellers. So, but this is what we do. If you go to sleep and before sleep, you are thinking about what can happen, analyzing what will, and you feel some fear, it's a good option to look at it. because it is normal in our times, but it shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be normal. We don't have same, fears as first people had like 20,000 years ago, like, having the fear of not being able to survive, meaning to eat something, so this is, we create something in our head that causes stress. As I said, we write scenarios. Look at the scenarios. We have fear, the biggest, we can have fear of losing our jobs, of course. But in relations, we can have fear of abandonment. So this is something that's natural for people. But then if we feel this fear, even before anything has happened, it causes stress. Because you are at work, you have the job, but you are already thinking about the possibility of losing it. So this is something more. Just look at it, think, if we are talking about how to deal with constant stress, first of all, let's look at the root of it. Why? Why? What's the cause of me feeling this stress? Because this is actually, as I said, you check what is the foundation of this stress. And then you are able to deconstruct the rest that we as people create. Sometimes it's even, an illusion that we created that we are afraid of. Because the difference between like biological fear and this creating illusional fear is like biological is you go to a forest and you see a wolf and you are afraid. This is normal. But if even before entering the forest, you are already afraid of the wolf and you haven't seen it yet, this is this fear like of this, as I said, writing a scenario, and then you are stressed because something can happen, may happen, or whatever. So I will show you a wheel. I don't know if you've seen it or not, a wheel of life. The host disabled participants share screen sharing. So I don't know if we have the host on board and if he can actually allow me to share my screen with you. Okay, now I'm able to do that. Okay, so this is something I want to show you. This is also a wheel which is very popular. As you can see, there's a scale from 1 to 10. So from 1 to 10, we have different aspects. It's called the wheel of life. The wheel of life. And it's a very simple coaching tool to check how we feel with each segment. In this case, we've got 8 segments. So then we can find something also that causes stress in our life. It's a very simple tool, but it's very good to check it because maybe we are not aware of something that we could be once we've done this. So as you can see, from 1 to 10, of course, how good you feel, this is the case, how good you feel. And when you have such tasks, don't analyze that. Don't think, okay, maybe I am like, the more you analyze, the more it can be you cheating yourself. So don't cheat yourselves. It's like the first answer that pops up, use it. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how good my finances are, or how well I feel about my finance. Yes, so you just choose one, and then if we have, like 10, it's just how you feel, but then we know that it's not probably the cause of the stress. Yeah, personal growth. Yes, like personal development. Reading maybe books about personal development. Personal growth, it can be, in sports, in the fields that you actually are interested in, maybe some postgraduate studies, even taking part in such a lecture, like now, it is also part of personal growth, because you get some information and how good you feel about where you are now with your personal growth. So then you just also put a number. Then health. And again, coming back to this, to where we started, you are the most important ones for you. So your health is the most important. So how you actually look after yourself, because people, not everybody, but people tend to have something like this. Check if you have it. That if somebody needs help, then I will help. If somebody needs support, I will support. But if I need help and support, I can wait. I will not ask somebody for help. If somebody asks me, then of course I will help. This is what many people have. So that's why, again, look at your health, where you are and how you feel with your health. It's very good to actually to do it after our lecture. Family, the same story. Yeah? How good I feel about my family. Of course, from my experience, when people whose parent, for example, was ill, oncological issues with their bodies, then family was like 6. Why? Because my father is ill. This is the conversation. Like, why is it 6? Because my father is ill. What would make you feel 7? Yes, if predictions for my father were good, that he'll be healthy in a year or whatever. And then this is how we analyze it. What will make you feel 8? And then you've got the answers. So you can ask yourself these questions. Then we have next segment, relationships. And it's the same story on 1 to 10, how good I feel about relationships. Then social life. Social life, of course, now it is more difficult to have active social life. Of course, to some extent it is possible, but pandemic doesn't make it easy. So we have some obstacles. So on this scale, we can be like 4, 3 maybe now. And then attitude. So attitude toward yourself. So how in general you feel about yourself, about life in general. Are you positive, optimistic, realistic, or pessimistic? Yeah. And then career. So how good you feel about your career, about your professional life. And then if we have numbers, once you've done it, have a look at the one that is the lowest. Focus on the one that is the lowest. If we have For example, let's just grab one, let's say personal growth. Let's say that personal growth would be the lowest, like 3. So then what would make it 5? You know, if I started studies, if I started to read something, you know, I feel frustrated that I don't read as much as I would like to. So now we have stress caused by, you know, let's say subconsciously, maybe even caused by me not being into personal growth as much as I would like. So this is one of the causes of stress. And then how can one lower the pressure? You know, choose the path that will make you feel better about this lack that you have. So then you are able to deal with the stress that it causes, because you actually erase the cause of it. So hints and tips, if we are talking about hints and tips, of course, listen to yourself, listen what you need, communicate what you need, because we are talking that, you know, it's a popular statement that communication is a problem, that it's difficult to communicate. It's not about communication. I mean, first of all, communicate with yourselves. I don't know how it sounds to you, but communicate, I will stop sharing now. Communicate with yourselves. Communicate your needs to yourself. Of course, communicate them to others, but communicate them to yourselves to feel what you want to tell yourself what you need, what can make you feel better. And we, like the very last question, the question, it's about peace and quiet. Or calmness. So on a scale from 0 to 10, when was the last time that you felt peace and quiet and calmness at 10? Like you were so calm that everything was just like, you know, it's like difficult to describe it. Yeah, so yesterday, okay, yeah, yesterday. So if you did that, if you feel that, yeah, in summer, this is an answer which often, let's say, often comes. You know, summertime is time when we have more time for ourselves. A month ago, yeah. So this is just, we can then ask ourselves, what was a month ago that I felt that calm, and what am I missing? Okay, today in the morning, yeah, so what is there that makes me feel that calm? And then focus on that. And this is another key to find what makes me feel calm instead of focusing on what makes me stressful. So try to dismantle the stress, focus on your anger, look after yourself, and don't take unwanted gifts from people. If you don't want a bad emotion, just you know, awareness will help you to see that you don't want it. But if somebody has got anger and wants to give this anger to you, and you don't take it, then you can imagine and be prepared what will happen with that person who really, really, really subconsciously wants to give you the anger, and you're not taking that. So this person stays with anger. Usually they share. If you don't take it, this is also an interesting thing that can actually happen. you know, in a nutshell, like stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event. Somebody mentioned even working, a lot of work. So event or thought. I want to focus today on thoughts, that we alone create something that causes stress. It can make us feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. Of course, there is also a good part of stress, as I said, biological, to save ourselves or whatever. But if you focus on yourselves, if you check what makes you feel good, if you focus on that, what makes you feel good, if you make this wheel of life and you see where something is missing, it will be, or it can be, a key to look after yourself, because you already know that you are the most important. Yeah. So thank you for today. Have a wonderful day, and actually the second part with Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your lectures about stress situation was very interesting for us. But our life, unfortunately, positive and negative stress every day. I wish you health and success, okay, for you and my colleagues.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miziołek. Now it's my turn to take the floor and continue the lecture. Well, I think we are all facing the situation of life under stress, and under pandemic times, we are faced with this every day, no matter where we are on the globe. If it's Poland, the Ukraine, if it's the United States, we are facing all the same situation. We are in the same boat. I think my part of lecture is very much connected with stress management. I remember one of my lectures to Ukrainian colleagues, maybe some of you were also present then, it was, I think, November last year. I was discussing the social media and creative use of social media in distance education. My today's presentation and speech is also connected with this, but it's different. Why? Because I have learned my own lessons. I have learned and observed my two children at home, one who is a student and one who is a secondary school pupil. And I see this as I have the very, very good experience also as a teacher, what we experience from the part of learners and teachers and what we are facing. The situation has affected our educational systems, and it has happened worldwide. There are total closures or near total closures for schools, for universities and colleges. And I have noted some numbers. There are 825 million learners globally who have just lost touch with regular school education. And this has been the sudden response to the pandemic situation. We all remember March 2020 and the governmental announcements were like, okay, you have to persevere for a couple of weeks. And then we continued over the summertime. Summer was the holiday time, as Dr. Miziołek mentioned already. Summer is the time for being relieved. But after that, September, October, and we faced the same situation. Right now, the restrictions are becoming even tighter. I know about Kiev situation that you are starting a complete lockdown tomorrow for 3 weeks. And it's also going to happen in Poland, maybe not as heavy, the restrictions will be a bit different, but it's quite similar. So the school closures were the response to the situation, but they have shed some light on many social and economic issues like digital learning, food insecurity, homelessness, health, housing, internet, and the problems with any disability services. All global systems and health organizations recommended to use the distance learning programs and online learning as the only possible way of providing education. Well, I have always been promoting technology in my professional life for over 20 years now, but what has happened over the last months, I think, has made me a bit powerless in some moments, but still we are facing it. Technology helps teachers and both teachers and learners to access some materials, to go not only into a textbook, but to get into some multiple formats so that we can use our time effectively and our space effectively. Like we can use Zoom, we can use Teams and Google Classrooms and many other options just to help us communicate and exchange information. What about the situation when we don't have the right access to technology or fast internet access? And there are many students who face this situation, many pupils. I think we may feel privileged to be able to communicate now over Zoom, to exchange our ideas and to be able to complete our academic assignments as you are completing your internships by joining our lectures. And you can also use different platforms, and also your students in Ukraine and pupils can do so. We as teachers, as academic teachers, often struggle when we undertake a very difficult task under very complicated circumstances. As we, after a year of online work, we know that online instruction is imperfect. I can say that those students who are disadvantaged become even more disadvantaged over time. And no matter how resilient, how hardworking students are, they will need to make up for some work. Our Ministry of Education has already introduced some initial programs for students to be able to make up for the loss of time and loss of material. Well, I don't think it's the most important. I think the most important is how students and pupils feel in the situation and how we can benefit as teachers, how we can help them. Talking about distance learning is not only talking about technology, because we have all become experts after those months. So we know that we use many available programs, but it's not the technological side that is the only that I want to concentrate on. I think we should divide that online learning into two visible areas. One area is the synchronous learning, which means we are teaching and learning at the same time to a given group of students. And the delivery of education happens in real time. Of course, it requires live communication online, like we are having it right now. It is a bit less flexible than other forms of education. And it has to be pre-scheduled and well planned. As for the asynchronous distance education, this is another area of online learning. This is the education which may be given in clusters, in groups of learning material. The students, the pupils are given more freedom to work at their own speed. And it gives more opportunities for student interaction. The students can access the course content beyond the scheduled time. They don't need to join specific meetings. They may do the quizzes, they may do their conversations, and it's also more flexible for the teachers, and it's more flexible and more convenient for the students. What do? I think we mix those options for pupils. We mix the synchronous online teaching with asynchronous online teaching. I don't want to judge them now, but I think that's just sticking to only one option, as I see in many primary schools in Poland. This is what happens is the real-time teaching, and it makes pupils absolutely tired. After 2 or 3 hours, they are absolutely tired completely, and I think that's the negative aspect that we have to be aware of. If we can provide a system of online education, I think we should also bear in mind that there is a recipient on the other side, and we should analyze and try to imagine what his or her feelings are when he or she is stuck to the screen for 7 hours a day. There are many other characteristics of distance learning and education. And I think one of the features is that it has to be provided by institutions. So it doesn't exist without academic or any schooling environment. The institutions are also responsible for accreditation, and they also employ very different methods of teaching. The second feature and characteristic feature of online learning is that it imposes geographic separation. And so the students and teachers have the contact online, and they use different programs. They have many intellectual inputs and outputs, and they also have some social interactions happening online. We use many interactive communications, such as emails, postal systems. There are many mediums and many technical options which somehow lessen the proximity of communications. They are also becoming more sophisticated now, and with time, over the months of online work, we have seen the rapid growth in distance learning and the fashions that have been implemented. I also feel that we as teachers observe that our students form a learning community. And I think as they have been in a community for many years, they also need to feel that they, even though separated from regular schooling, they need to be in the learning community, which is our tasks as academic teachers, to be able to create it for our students to feel well, to feel welcome. Not only to give them instructions online, but also to be able to promote it, like in a virtual reality, to promote the learning community. The students use Facebook or YouTube, they construct profiles, they identify members, they like some content or dislike it. And therefore we see that this need for being part of internet community is very, very strong. And I feel this is also one of my tips for success, my suggestion for success in online education, to be able to have a learning community, not only to provide the student with the teaching content in form of lectures or graphs or loads of information, but to create a feeling of belonging to a place. I think we teachers should be also flexible. The students should be able to choose when and where they learn, and they may select the time, the place, and the medium for their education. I know that we are working within some constructed environment, like schedules, exams. The students can take final exams, or they just are responsible for reporting material. I think we need those frameworks for sticking into some rules, but the environment has to be easily accessible. It has to be friendly to students. I have researched some of the global universities, and I looked into the website of the University of London, what they say now, what they offer as an online university right now. What they say is that you can study anywhere. Well, you can be a student in Kiev and you can attend this program of University of London. You can learn at your own pace, and they say it's value for money. Well, even directors of many universities stress that online education is cheaper for universities because the costs are generally lower. So I think it's easier for many international students to join many renowned international institutions because those online programs are usually cheaper. And the learners are supported within the universities. They have access to, when they register, to some students portal. For example, at our university at Kujawska Szkoła Wyższa, where we work, in Wrocław, our students have access to the internal system of students access, and they access information, they access lectures, they also have, they can look into the grading system, and all the actual announcements are given there. So I think it's the whole wealth of information is provided in the student portal. What about the learners? What about the students who are not logging into the system? And there are many, as has been analyzed by our Ministry of Education, that there are many pupils and students who are somehow lost in the system. And I think you know very well what I'm talking about. That's also the problem in Ukraine, that many students, many pupils don't even log into the virtual classrooms. They are not finishing any of the tasks. And I think it's one of the very big issues and problems to be solved. Well, I think there are always students in the regular system of education. There are always students who don't attend the classes because they are somehow lost. In this system of online education, we see the problem growing. The students are not so much engaged, and I think it's very difficult for many teachers to evaluate the students and pupils. There is no face-to-face instruction, there are no face-to-face meetings, and the system seems to be unjust. Well, I don't have any golden advice to anybody, because if I had, then I think I wouldn't be here. Well, I think it's somehow creating the online communities. One of the ways of getting out of this as a problem. We as educators cannot save the world, and we cannot save our pandemic situation. We cannot change it. We have to play the cards we have, and the cards are quite limited right now. We should, and we and our local authorities should do everything to provide access to technology. We should communicate with the learners and students, ask them what problems they really face. And I don't know if many of the teachers really bother to ask the students if they have problems. Maybe there's some individual tutorials on technology should be given, because many students seem experts on Facebook or I don't know, Instagram, but they are not experts on technology on board of advanced education systems. So I think it's also, I think it's never too late, because we are really in the situation we don't know how long it's going to continue for us. I think with the secondary level of education and primary education, teachers should have some contact with parents, with the pupils' families, even making a phone call or talking over the Facebook, exchanging some information. It's easier to come up with a plan for making this distance learning work better for pupils at home. I also don't think that the deadlines and the homework should be at a very, very top of our priorities. I think we should allow the students to resubmit work, maybe not to an endless time, but to some, we need to be flexible on that. Maybe we should somehow ask, like, I'm going to let you turn this later, but next time try to be, I don't know, on time. We have to pay more attention to power dynamics, like that they are not socially neutral, that we should be able to exist online and pay attention of the role of gender and race in online instructions. When we are teaching a language, we should be more open to providing some linguistic support to our students. And also when we're talking about secondary school students, we should let them choose what they want to learn, of course, within the limits that are acceptable. But maybe this will let them have this the feeling that they are treated like adult learners, and they have some influence on what they are learning. Maybe the students then will become more creative, like they can, let's say, have some meetings with the teachers about the learning material and rethink about the activities and things happening during the school process. So the issues of being collaborative learning, collaborative teaching, also giving more space to learners, giving them tools for asynchronous learning. So learning outside the strict online formulas. And also help the students to assess and evaluate education. So asking them for feedback, how they like the classes, why they liked them, what was interesting for them. And let the students chase the curiosity. We should also engage more the peer-to-peer mentoring. So this means that students work together. They can get into some contact, discuss the grades, discuss material, and support each other. And also to identify the criteria for and the resources, and this shows also that all the commitment of the teachers. I think you may see that I'm creating a lot of workload for the teachers right now. I think we are with the learners. We are, as I said, in the same boat, and I think we should cooperate more closely. My dream situation would be that we could, let's say in the springtime, we could meet the students outside, because we officially cannot have any meetings inside the school buildings, but maybe we could work with the students outside, even going for a walk together and discuss their life and problems in general. I think that's what we are all looking forward to right now. And it's not easy, but I think we should try to get closer to them into some kind of assistance program, a mental assistance program. There are so many challenges in distance education because there is, in general, the lack of structure. I don't know exactly the situation in Ukraine, but what I can say about Poland, the regulations have changed so many times. There have been many plans for the systems of online education. from next week, the youngest pupils, those aged 7 to 10, will be forced to learn online. But in fact, I think this was the only group excluded from online education so far. So you can imagine the young ones, the child of 7 years old sitting in front of the computer for 5 or 6 hours a day. Well, this is like somehow even hard to digest, hard to assess somehow and plan. I think we should be more flexible, as I said, about the time management of students, about the time of homeworks, of assignments. We should refocus on and be like create reminders for their attention and for time they spend at home. Many students don't get enough sleep because of stress, because the system of staying at home somehow upsets the regular routine and the sleep schedules. So we also see that the students are really tired and easily distracted. It's very difficult then to pay any attention, to concentrate. So the long communication, the long lectures are not the only solution then. I think that's very often happening, that the students don't attend those lectures. They just switch them on and they just don't really engage in anything like that. There is no change of scenery because the students are stuck in one place and they have very short breaks between classes. It's very difficult to recharge, and the mini breaks are usually too short. Well, can we change this? Usually we can probably answer no, but we should try to, as we have more, as at academic level, we are given more freedom to, especially at university level. So if we have any power to change the routine of a lecture of a day, we should be more flexible. Well, it's very, very difficult to talk about what are the lessons that we have learned, because I think each of us has learned his or her own lessons over the last 12 months of online education. What I have learned is that I have to be, as a teacher, I have to be more flexible. I have to try to have individual contact, if it's possible, with the students. I should try to switch the mode of instruction to make the classes more interesting. Use the writing assignments, use videos and discussions. Try to be more somehow more of a guide than the teacher. We can also do many project work, and it's also possible to arrange this virtually when students meet somehow, and in a hybrid way they can cooperate and exchange information over an assignment and project. We as humans all need the social contacts. We need the opportunities to speak up, to collaborate, and we have to foster collaboration and allow the student talking time and not only the teacher talking time. So these are all the points that I want to stress and mark as important and in creative teaching and creative learning. There are many obstacles we all face with, as I said, technology, with time, regulations, but we should help the students grow and help them grow as problem solvers and learners, not only those who provide us with loads of homework. Education's future, what I can say in a situation that may continue for quite a long time, as we don't know, I think definitely until this the end of this academic year. there is no direct instruction, and I think it should be more the learner-centered practice. And if we miss this opportunity of creating the learners' space and time, we will be very disappointed in the future. I think we should, as in the first part of the lecture, stress was discussed, and Dr. Miziołek mentioned all those areas and how we feel about this. I think we are all facing this situation. We may be very disappointed if we don't create any human space to our learners, to our students, and we have to listen to them and be able to help them in a way. It's not only help with homework, it's also help with some psychological issues, and coaching issues. And I think it's quite a lot of work for psychologists, even psychiatrists right now, as students and pupils face the difficult times and somehow they never get the right answer. I think we are the providers of the right answers, even if we sometimes don't know the answer. Thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you today.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Dr. Skiba. Thank you, Dr. Skiba. Your experience in pandemic situation is very interesting for me, and I hope for my students too. Best wishes.
Thank you. The best wishes to you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.